Hi, this is Mark with QuicksVenture, and in this video we're going to do a quick review of the 2016 MacBook Pro. This is the 13-inch model, and it's also the one without the touch bar. I'm a fan of physical keys on my keyboard, so I went ahead and went to the Apple Store and took a look at the touch bar, but to be honest, I couldn't figure out what all the, what the usability was. To be honest, it looked a little bit cheap and kind of like an afterthought. A bit gimmicky for my taste. It was certainly cool, and I can see that in the future, if it gets adopted by lots of apps, that it may become something that would be useful. But for my purpose, I saw nothing more useful than actual physical keys. Now, when you open up the MacBook Pro, the first thing you're going to see is this absolutely gorgeous Retina screen. This is a trademark of Apple, and in fact, it's gotten even better in the 2016 model. I'm sure you've read and seen all the different specs, but I can assure you that this is the most clear and brightest and most amazing screen I've seen in any modern laptop. Many of my coworkers and colleagues are fans of either the new Lenovo or the Dell XPS 13 with its 4K screen. And when the one thing that I always come back to with Mac, and this is something I didn't know, this is actually my first Mac computer, the resolution is different on a Mac. So you can see it's actually a little bit taller. Same width, but more pixels up and down, which means that when you're watching a movie, you're going to have black bars at the top and the bottom. But when you open up a website or you're reading a spreadsheet, you're going to end up with more screen real estate. So I can have this window open, and it's still, Mac always shows the top and the bottom menu bars. But it doesn't matter because you have the same vertical number of pixels. So that's interesting. I found that to be extremely useful, and it makes it much easier to work on long documents or spreadsheets. This, for me, is primarily a work computer, so that becomes very, very important. The next thing is the chassis itself, and I'm going to show you, this is an iPad mini in front of the Mac, and you can see that the height is exactly, it's only slightly larger than an iPad mini, and to be honest, it's only a little bit heavier than an iPad mini. So where I used to use a 14-inch Windows laptop, kind of an Ultrabook, but on the heavier side, I would always use my iPad mini to do things like reading the news. Now, this is so small that I end up carrying my 13-inch MacBook downstairs instead of my iPad. This is almost as easy to carry. It's extremely nice tactile feel. You can see it's got the two ports on one side and then the headphone jack on the other, and that's it. So this is the least expensive model. That being said, it's also very expensive compared to some Windows laptops, but actually relatively competitive when you factor in the cost of a 4K screen on a comparable Dell or Lenovo. So looking at the MacBook, this is Sierra, of course. And one thing, as soon as you get this notebook, you're going to notice that none of your peripherals work because nothing that you have is probably USB-C. So the first thing you're going to do is probably buy some kind of USB-C to USB 3.1 or 3.0 or some other thing. This is an Aki adapter that's available on Amazon for about $16. It works pretty well, but there are a couple of things about USB-C and really USB 3 that you're going to find interesting. I'm going to plug this in. I can show you the network speeds, but it's this has totally decent throughput. I was getting 400 or 500 megabit across my network. Not a great result, but not bad. It has a light, it turns on, it works just fine. But I'm going to use a cheap old mouse here to show this. There is a problem with USB-C, really USB 3.0 and 2.4 gigahertz bands. You can see on the screen, if you can see the mouse moving, but nothing well, it's working a little bit. If we keep this close to the port, the mouse will actually stop working, or it'll be really intermittent. I'm moving the mouse, but nothing's happening to the mouse on the screen. And that's because the USB 3.1, the physical connector or something about it, causes interference in the 2.4 gigahertz band, and that's the same band that most wireless mice, some Bluetooth peripherals, and a lot of Wi-Fi working. In fact, when I was setting up Windows on Boot Camp on this laptop, I kept dropping my Wi-Fi. I couldn't figure out why, and it's because I had a USB key plugged into an adapter like this, and I had to unplug it regularly in order to keep the Wi-Fi signal so that I can actually install Windows. So a solution to that is to just get yourself a dollar store USB extender and take whatever wireless device you're using and push it a little bit further away from the actual physical port. So just swing it to the other side, and now everything should work just fine. You can see that the tracking is fine. I got my speed turned way up, so it's a little bit annoying. And that's another problem with Sierra. It does not have great support for mice other than the Apple Magic Mouse. So that's disappointing. There are forums all over the place talking about Logitech drivers that were updated in October. I've got a Logitech wireless mouse, and it performs terribly in Sierra, even with the new drivers from Logitech. So I've went out and bought myself a Magic Mouse, and I personally don't like the ergonomics of it, but it is a pretty nice mouse. So I'm trying to get used to it. Other things about the Mac that you will become very clear very quickly are that this is absolutely, without question, the best trackpad in the industry. And I don't know, probably because it's not a mechanical trackpad. It's actually an electronic trackpad with the taptic feedback. So it sounds like it's clicking there, but in fact it's not. It's a small taptic device underneath it pushing back and making it feel like it clicked. And you can hear that sort of double click. It's got the touch sensitive secondary click. So if you push down initially, you get one click, and then there's a secondary click underneath it. So you have to actually be doing something in order for that to have any purpose. I have not found any compelling reason to use the that secondary click myself, but it's there, and it's certainly cool. But what's actually the best is the 2-finger click for your right click action. And it's surprising. I never use keyboard or mouse gestures in Windows 10. And in the Mac, I'm finding that I use them all the time. You have some really simple things, like you can swipe between full screen apps. So this was a new thing. I never knew about full screen apps. And then you can swipe with 3 fingers to get to a different desktop. That's kind of cool. Certainly not something that's I'm used to from Windows. In fact, in Windows, I really like the way that it manages Windows by when you drag something around. If you push it to the top, it would full screen. If you push it to the right, it would fill up the whole right-hand side of the screen. Mac is different. It takes a little time to get used to that. So coming from Windows, and like I said, this is my first Mac ever. I had an Apple IIc way back in the day, but this is the first time I've gone back. In my opinion, this is one of the best physical machines you can buy right now. And I've used a fair number of other laptops out there. The ergonomics are excellent. There's a lot written about the keyboard. You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. The butterfly mechanism takes a little bit of getting used to. But it's actually, for me, it's one of the fastest keyboards I've ever been able to type on. And I'm a terrible typist, so this has actually made me a better typist. The keys are close together, and there's a very good tactile feel, a lot of sound, and good feedback. I actually also like the MacBook. The 12-inch MacBook keyboard I find also pretty good. But this is significantly better. So I think Apple has really made something unique with this keyboard. So give it a try. Go to an Apple store and see if you like the keyboard, if you like the trackpad, and you like the screen, then this is probably the best laptop you're going to find. It's extremely sturdy. It never feels like it's going to flex in your hand. It doesn't make any noise. There's no moving parts. I've never once heard the fan, and the speakers are fantastic. The other cool thing about a Mac is that it's very easy to just switch over to Windows. So restart, hold down the Option key, and a few seconds later, it's going to just pop up a boot camp message to ask me which operating system I want to boot to. Now, you have to install Windows, but for somebody who works primarily on Windows at work and Mac at home, being able to just boot right into Windows, I mean, that's a big deal. And it's very, very fast. So it's running Windows natively now. It has pretty decent drivers. The only real drawback is that there's a problem with the 5 gigahertz band on Wi-Fi, and there is a problem with the trackpad scrolling. So you want to use an external mouse and maybe not the trackpad if you're in Windows mode. But all those things aside, this is absolutely one of the best laptops I've ever used, and I highly recommend it. I know Consumer Reports had some trouble with the battery. That's all been resolved now. I find the battery to be a little disappointing compared to the 8 to 10 hours that were being advertised. I get 6 hours of very heavy use. It charges quickly, and I find it to be a very good work computer. This is a great machine with some limitations, but brilliant screen, great keyboard, best trackpad in the industry, and perhaps the best ergonomics of any laptop of its size in this class. So this has been Mark with Quixventure. I hope you enjoyed it.